Welcome back to Out of Left Field. Back in the early 90s, after losing the state championship basketball game with the Hazleton area Cougars, Chris Long was moved by how much support the team received when they arrived home after the game. In 2024, he was moved again by the area's support for his latest sports venture. I have been begging Hazleton area sports historian and SSP TV sports host Ron Marchetti to watch soccer for years. And then one day he came in to record his weekly sports segment for SSP TV Community News and...
I'm not a soccer fan, never was, but I'm trying to become one truthfully for only one reason and one team, the Kansas City Current, a soccer team owned by Patrick Mahomes and his wife Brittany and Hazleton native Chris Long and his wife Angie. The same Chris Long who is an Hazleton Sports Hall of Famer, the only kid who ever scored 1,000 points as an underclassman for the Hazleton High School Mountaineer basketball team, and who scored 19 of his team's 30 in the 1993 state championship game against Erie Cathedral Prep.
Ronnie had watched his first soccer match, a 5-4 win for the Kansas City Current over the Portland Thorns in the National Women's Soccer League. The game was broadcast on ABC and was the first game played at CPKC Stadium in Kansas City, the first soccer stadium in the world built specifically for a women's professional team. Ronnie watched history unfold at Damon's Restaurant in Hazleton.
I got dozens and dozens of notes from former basketball teammates, from former teachers, from a whole host of different people that were part of my incredible upbringing. And then to top it off, this watch party I thought was the icing on the cake to learn that a group of my mom's closest friends had all gotten together at Damon's across from Penn State Hazleton to watch this home opener, none of which had previously been soccer fans, but absolutely found it to be one of the more thrilling spectator events that they watched. So that was pretty surreal for me to learn that was happening.
After starring for the Hazleton Area High School, Chris Long continued his basketball career at Princeton University. His wife Angie was also an athlete at Princeton. She played golf and rugby. So many of you know the stats and stories that landed Chris Long in the Luzerne County Sports Hall of Fame. But did you know he was also a youth soccer coach?
We have 4 children, all of which grew up playing soccer in Kansas City. They all stopped at certain ages except for one who is set to play soccer at Duke this fall. But all 4 of them played, and the one fact people don't realize is the Heartland Soccer League here in Kansas City is the largest youth soccer league in the United States. Soccer is huge here. It's something on the order of like 50,000 youth participate in it. And so with that, you're seeing it every day. And I just fell in love with it.
In late 2020, the NWSL awarded an expansion franchise to Kansas City. Around a year before that, the roots of the Current were planted when Long brought one of his daughters to France to play in some soccer matches there while the 2019 Women's World Cup was going on in the country.
Quite honestly, seeing it through her eyes, seeing the global inspiration that all these countries had to win the World Cup, and all the investment that was starting to happen, which had never happened in women's soccer before. You could see it in the European teams, in Australia and New Zealand. We came back, and Andrew and I said, well, how do we get a team to Kansas City? So we started networking and figuring that out, because it's hard to do. It's very hard to get a professional franchise to any city.
Eventually, the Longs teamed up with Kansas City Chiefs quarterback Patrick Mahomes and his wife Brittany Mahomes, who's a former college and professional soccer player. Together, they were able to make the Kansas City Current a reality. Chris and Angie Long have great business minds. Chris is the founder, chairman, and CEO of Palmer Square Capital Management, and Angie is the company's chief financial officer. Along with their passion for the sport of soccer, they saw a big opportunity with the NWSL.
We invest for a living. That's what we do. So, the concept is you take a certain amount of risk to get a certain amount of return. And when you look at it in that trade-off, we just didn't see much risk. For one, valuations were really, really low for a professional women's team, and that's since changed. They're now rocketed, much, much higher. Still, we think at low levels, quite frankly, but they've gone up a lot from where they were. Two, there's still so many things that if you looked at social media engagement and you look that people love watching women's sports, but things hadn't been unlocked like media deals. There hadn't been as much corporate sponsorship yet. And so we thought to ourselves, well, this is a product that is just going to continue to get better and better, being women's sports. People love to watch it already. They're passionate about it online, on social media. As soon as there is a little bit of investment, as soon as there's a little bit of mindset change to I don't want to just break even or lose a little bit of money, but I actually see this as an investment and what the promise could be, it's going to explode. And that's what's happened.
You can see proof of what Long is talking about during home matches at CPKC Stadium.
So back to the investment side, it's really, if you look at the financial model of sports, owning your own facilities is really critical. It's hard to be a second or third tenant in someone else's stadium and pay rent. And here's why. For one, if you have your own facilities, you can get naming rights sponsors. That's a really big revenue lever. You could name your gates. You could decide how you do your food and beverage. How do you do your ticketing? What does the seating manifest look like? How do you think about the ways in which you do your digital aspects to the stadium, your signage? I mean, there's just so many different things that are really effectively assets of the team that you could then monetize and really have a very successful, financially sound sports team.
It all makes business sense, right? But let's go back to that dad who coached youth soccer and was watching Women's World Cup matches with his daughter in France.
I just think it's inspirational that young girls, young boys, really anybody, but I think about the youth most specifically, they won't think differently that, of course, elite women athletes have elite facilities that are purpose-built for them. And I think that in of itself is a powerful motivator.
Long believes the current and their new stadium mean a lot to the people in Kansas City. They also mean a lot to a number of people around 1,100 miles away in the Hazleton area.
Congratulations to the NWSL, National Women's Soccer League, the KC Current, and especially Chris Long and his family.